The Star Princess is the biggest cruise ship to ever sail in Alaska. We're talking over 4,000 guests, a 3-story glass atrium, 5 pools, and a full-size theater. But with thousands of people on board at the same time as you, on a mega ship designed to spend half its time in the Caribbean, things can get tricky. If you don't have a plan, your dream Alaskan cruise can turn into a nightmare. Here are the biggest mistakes to avoid on the Star Princess in Alaska. When you're cruising Alaska, seeing the wildlife is probably at the top of your list, and one of my absolute favorite surprises was the naturalist on the ship. The naturalist serves as your wildlife guide on board for the glaciers, the marine life, and the wildlife. They'll go live on the bridge cam on your stateroom TV. They do a live narration of what you're seeing right that second. These aren't always listed in the app, so don't make the mistake of missing these. This is how you'll know when there are whales and on which side of the ship. So definitely have that bridge cam on in the background while you're hanging out in your cabin. Pretty much everyone has binoculars out here, but you don't need to buy the crazy expensive ones they sell on board. I just grabbed a travel pair on Amazon that work perfectly. You just want to have them ready to grab the second someone yells, "Whale!" There's no need to take out a second mortgage to see a blowhole, okay? Speaking of, on our sailing, we saw humpback whales, we saw orcas, sea lions, and otters, all from the ship. Now, the naturalist also hosts educational lectures, and I'm a nerd, so these are right up my alley, but if you start falling asleep just hearing the phrase educational lecture, probably skip these. No matter which binoculars you get, you're going to still want a front row seat to the glaciers. Everyone always says you must get a balcony cabin on an Alaskan cruise, and they're right. If you've watched my channel before, you know I don't always say that. But for an Alaska cruise, the balcony is a must-do if you can swing it. This is a deluxe balcony on deck 12, and it's a pretty great layout with a lot of space. I'm spending more time outside on this balcony than I even thought I would. So it turns out none of the cool kids wear lanyards. They all have these bracelets with that AirTag thing in them, and I gave in to peer pressure. They sell these on board the first few days, but I got ours on Amazon beforehand and they work great. Having that balcony is especially important because of how the ship's outdoor space is set up. You might think you can just go to the upper decks to hang out, but the weather in Alaska can change fast. It gets really windy sometimes, and they can even close off the outdoor decks altogether. Which brings us to the big question. When you're sailing a mega ship designed for the warm climate of the Caribbean, but you're in the cold waters of Alaska, does it actually work? All right, let's do a quick reality check though, because I have some thoughts. I know the Star Princess was supposed to be designed equally for both climates, but you can't be everything for everyone. And the glass on the decks is really tall, and it's blue tinted. Seeing icebergs through that blue tint makes me feel like I'm trapped inside of a giant Smurf. I ended up just not going to the upper decks altogether and seeing the views from my own balcony where I have a clear sightline that's not blue tinted. Since the Star Princess is the biggest ship to sail in Alaska, you won't get super close to the glaciers either. This ship has to stay the furthest away from the famous Dawes Glacier when you're sailing Endicott Arm. Smaller ships get right up to it, but not the Star Princess. We didn't even make a full 360-degree turn on our sailing, so only one side of the rooms actually got to see it from their own balconies. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the dome on the ship. Everyone online keeps hyping up this multi-story glass dome like it's going to change my life.
This looked amazing online, but here's what it's actually like when you're here.
I went in on the very first day to see what all the fuss is about, and honestly, it's fine. It has a couple of events listed, but none of these sound unmissable, so that first visit is probably also my last visit. The internet makes the dome seem like the eighth wonder of the world, but to me, it just seems like a pretty neat room with some awkwardly positioned lounge chairs. There are 5 pools on the Star Princess, which makes sense if you're in the Caribbean. But in Alaska, those outdoor pools are really only used the first couple of days. But there is one secret inside the dome you should know. If you do want some swim time, there's a part indoor, part outdoor pool in the dome, and a lot of people don't even realize on day 1 that you're allowed to swim in there. So keep that in mind if you want to dodge the crowds early on. When it's chilly outside, you're going to be hunting for some warm spaces inside, and the absolute best place to get warm and cozy on the ship is the Enclave at the spa. Don't make the mistake of skipping the thermal suite pass. I was on the fence about this before my cruise, but it's worth it. Before your trip, you can book a pass that lets you access the spa amenities every single day of your cruise. There's a hydrotherapy pool, there's heated loungers and a sauna and a steam room.
The thermal suite at the spa was amazing. It was so nice and warm and cozy, and it's really cold and windy outside today. It was fantastic.
Now on the Star Princess, this is an interior space, so there's no windows with epic views like some ships have. But when it's cold and rainy outside, I just want to bake like a baked potato in the oven on these heated loungers. Sign me up. While you're relaxing in the spa, you'll still need to keep track of the daily schedule. But don't make the mistake of trusting your cell phone to know what time it is in the middle of the ocean. You will probably change from Pacific time zone to Alaska time zone, but cell phone clocks need a cell signal to auto-update the time for you. At one point, they made a ship-wide announcement that the time zone had changed and we all needed to manually adjust our cell phone clocks. And if you've cruised before, you know they live for a schedule, so knowing the time is critical. Especially when you're pulling into port for your excursions. One of the most popular excursions in Alaska is doing a flight seeing tour to see the sights from the sky, and going whale watching. But not all tours are created equal, so be sure to book with a reputable local guide. Speaking of knowing what's going on with the schedule, the Princess app is going to be your best friend. I was nervous going into this cruise because there weren't very many entertainment options listed in the app beforehand, but all of those populated the first day. So be sure to check the app again after you board because the schedule will suddenly have a lot more activities. The great thing about a ship this size is that there's always something going on. There's game shows in the piazza. There's full theatrical shows in the arena. There's comedy shows and trivia. You will not be bored. While there are tons of activities on board, you should know that the fancy champagne soiree on formal night does not use actual champagne on the Star Princess. It's a digital representation, which for me is a bit anticlimactic. Beyond just the schedule, you'll also want to use the app to track your daily spending on board so you don't accidentally buy the entire ship by the end of the week. I highly recommend checking your onboard charges every single evening because it sometimes resets for the next day in the morning. And if you have the Princess Plus or Princess Premier package, which are their drink packages, you can track how many drinks and specialty meals you've used right from the app. These drink packages usually include a few casual meals too that would normally be an upcharge. Because why make something straightforward when it can be overly complicated instead? The casual dining options that cost extra if you don't have the drink package are O'Malley's and Alfredo's. And these two spots are popular. The wait times can be extreme. We're talking hours sometimes. So don't wait to go until you're starving, because by the time you actually get a table, you'll be ready to eat your own shoe. Don't make the mistake of thinking if you're not in the mood for the lunch buffet, those two spots are your only options. There's a hidden gem right outside the buffet on the starboard side of Deck 9. The Promenade Grill. On those chilly Alaska days, most people choose to eat inside. And because everyone is hiding indoors, it gets crowded.
4,000 guests a week is crazy.
But the grill outside has zero lines. They have custom made to order hamburgers, hot dogs, and French fries. And if you want a sweet treat, you're just steps away from the buffet. There's also a self-serve fountain drink machine at the buffet. If you have the drink package, you just scan your medallion and go. If you don't get that drink package, don't worry, you can still use it, but the pricing isn't super transparent. It seems like they charge by the ounce. So if you are doing the pay-as-you-go route, make sure you hang out until the timer has totally finished on the screen for your medallion. Otherwise, the person behind you in line might accidentally charge their drink to your account, and nobody wants to unknowingly pay for a stranger's Diet Coke. When it's time for dinner, you can of course head to the buffet. This is really where the buffet shines. They have everything from a build-your-own pasta station that they cook fresh for you right there, to themed international food nights. You know, I'm a casual girl and this is a chill dinner vibe. It's way less busy at dinner than other times of day because a lot of people will be eating at the main dining rooms. We have the Aurora and the Celestial dining room, and they are quite literally on top of each other. They're connected and they serve the exact same food as each other every night. So what's the difference? Aurora uses a traditional format where there are two main seating times and you have the same assigned dinner time every night at the exact same table with the same server the whole week. The Celestial main dining room lets you choose any time you want each night, and it doesn't have to be the same time. You can eat at 5:30 one night and 7:30 the next night, but you won't have the same table or the same server.
What I wish I knew before we booked is this.
Both main dining rooms start taking reservations before your cruise. Celestial will sometimes take walk-ups, but the line gets really long. So do yourself a favor and start booking reservations ahead of time. And that fancy dining room experience isn't just for dinner. You need to know that the buffet is not your only option for breakfast, because breakfast is actually served in the main dining room too, and it's completely free. There's no extra charge to sit down and have a table service meal, with a server bringing you a pastry platter while you look out at the ocean. I will say it tasted exactly like the food on the breakfast buffet to me, So there's not a huge difference in the actual food quality, but avoiding the chaos at the morning buffet is worth it, because that breakfast buffet is like a Black Friday sale in the 90s every morning. Sailing Alaska on the Star Princess is an absolute bucket list trip. The ship is massive, but now you know exactly how to outsmart the crowds and stay ahead of the curve. I have tons of videos about cruises and luxury hotels, so check those out.